The first one, An-Nafs al-Ammarah, the commanding soul. This is the worst of them. This is the most evil of the three. This is a soul that pushes you to commit sin. It is a soul that brings about destruction to itself. It is a soul, focus with me ikhwan, that excites you to commit the sin, and it decorates it as well. And it convinces you that there's going to be no repercussions behind the sin. It persuades you that the sin is very safe. It will have no aftermath. Perhaps you will repent later, even if you think about repenting. Just get the immediate gratification now. This is the nature of the commanding soul. It is an evil soul. You pull it towards paradise, and it is insisting to what? To pull you towards the fire. This is the same soul that was identified by that woman who tried seducing Prophet Yusuf to commit the adulterous act with her. After confessing to what she tried to do to Yusuf, what did she say? وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي. She said, I don't find excuses for myself. Because indeed the soul is a commanding soul. It is a soul that always commands a person to do evil. This is the nature of the commanding soul. Is it receptive to change? The good news, brothers and sisters, is that by the grace of Allah, this soul is very receptive to change. Who here among us has never experienced the commanding soul? We all know what that feels like. We've all experienced it, if not until now. And suffering from its agonies and its pulling. Is it susceptible to change? It is. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Successful is he who purifies his soul. That means it is possible to purify it. Otherwise this verse would have had no meaning. It is possible to purify it. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made your success in the hereafter pending upon your purification of the soul. Successful is he who purifies it. But you mustn't let go. There's going to be a pulling contest here. You are pulling it towards paradise, and it is pulling you towards the fire. If you do not surrender to its pulling, and you are patient with the bitterness of putting out the sin, guess what will happen? It will loosen its grip. And guess what? With time, it will even start advising you to do good. This is true. It is the commanding soul, but it is receptive to change. And that is why one of the poets, he says, وَالنَّفْسُ كَالطِّفْلِ إِن تَحْمِلْهُ شَبَّ عَلَى حُبِّ الرِّضَاعِ وَإِن تَفْطُمْهُ يَنْفَطِمِ. He says the human soul is just like a child who is breastfeeding from its mother. If it gets used to drinking milk from the breast of its mother, it becomes an addict to the milk of its mother. But whenever you try to wean the child becomes weaned. In other words, I mean, this is a beautiful analogy. Look at our mothers and ask them, when they were trying to transfer us as babies from milk to solid foods, we gave them hell in the first night. We screamed, we shouted, we need the milk. The second night, similarly. Third night, we cried and we shouted and kept the whole house and neighborhood awake. Come the first week, however, the crying decreased. The second week, the crying decreased even more. The first month, the second month passes, and now you don't need the milk at all, and you are totally weaned. In fact, after that period, if your mother presents her breast to your mouth again, what do you say? You say, "Kuch." You don't want it anymore. Correct? This exactly is the human soul, the commanding soul. If you do not surrender to its pulling, and you pull it now towards paradise by the recitation of the Quran, by coming to the masajid, by the attending of these lectures, by trying to actualize the information you hear, by choosing the best companions, by fasting as much as you can, by praying at night, by calling for the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, etc., etc., and you pull it that way towards paradise, it will loosen its grip. right? At first it will scream and it will say to you, no, I need this sin. What are you talking about? Your parents raised you this way. You need this transaction. This is your money. This is your livelihood. This is your time. This is your addiction. It's become part of your blood. You need to hear that track, etc., etc. If you don't surrender, it will loosen its grip. It will loosen its grip. And with time, you will be weaned. And then when you present yourself, when your soul is presented with that sin again, what will you say? You will say, Kuch.